Yes, I brought that back from.
It's still funny.
I don't get it. It's flying over my head, but that's
The
fine.
Alchemy Stone?
Huh? Oh. Oh. Now I get it.
This one was a little.
It turns lead into gold, you know?
But I like that. I did.
It's a secret that they were trying to, Leonardo da Vinci was trying to discover it. No.
It was only when I was showing somebody else.
All right, everybody, let's get moving because we have a 2 o'clock executive session. So, Ray Ebersol, hello, welcome.
Bridget, hi everybody. Since we all know each other, how are you doing? I'm going to put Shirley back on the phone. She's right here on the phone that's going to be presenting about BoardDocs.
Okay, perfect.
So,
And she is?
Shirley, before you start talking, I'm going to let you introduce yourself real quick, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay.
This is
You ready?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me today do this presentation. My name is Cheryl. I work for BoardDocs. My previous life, I'm just going to give you a little bit of history on me. Worked 30 years in public education. The last 8 years, I was a school board clerk in Toledo Public Schools. In 2009, we brought BoardDocs into our district, and it just changed the whole way we did business. And I love BoardDocs so much that now I work for BoardDocs. So really excited and passionate thing that I do, bringing this transparency and an easy tool for your board's work. We are partners with the Florida School Board Association, and you'll get special pricing with us through that. We also are partners with the National School Board Association. We have 58 subscribers in Florida, and the majority of those subscribers are K-12 districts. Nationwide, we have 3,000 subscribers. So we really are the tool to use in K-12 education. So I'm going to click, and I probably will only talk about 10 minutes, and then we can leave some time for questions if you would like. So I'm going to get you out of this screen here, and I'm going to show you a district in Florida that uses BoardDocs. Now, this is Nassau County School Board. So you can imagine this would be your school board or your logo, however you would like to do that. Board members would have their own pages. Any meetings you would like to highlight. Now, the nice thing about BoardDocs is it's very easily adaptable to school boards, very simple and easy to use. So whatever you have highlighted across the top is what shows up in this window. So this is our feature page. When you get to your meetings page, here's all your meetings by date and your archived history. So let's get into one of their meetings. You can view the agenda. You can still print the agenda because a lot of people still like to print the agenda. You can come in here and view the minutes to that meeting if it has happened already, or you can go to the video of that meeting. So let's go to view the agenda. Now, the agenda tab is highlighted. So whatever's highlighted, again, across the top and now down the side opens in this window. This is a previous meeting, so this is the agenda item. It's approval of the minutes, where if you would click in here, you could see the minutes to that meeting. You can see the vote, so who moved, who seconded, all in that one item. And then, again, easily searchable. Any attachments you might have, any information about that meeting, all in one spot. With that item is all in one spot and easily searchable. And you can house your policies in here. Again, your community can go in here, search your policies, search your agendas, search your minutes, and that gives an environment of transparency and trust because you're building things out here, you're showing how the meetings went and how the vote went. The minutes, everything like that is right here in one spot for your community to see. Now, I'm going to take you, that's what your community would come in and see. Now, I built on my demo site a little markup here of Sarasota schools, county schools. So again, here would be your logo, your mission, vision statement. Down here, you could add your board member pages. On your feature page, again, highlighted here, you can put any meetings that are upcoming. So your community can go, oh, there's 3 meetings that are upcoming. When they come into your site, this is what they're going to see. Any policies that you might be working on or any hot topics. So they don't have to go in and search your site. They know that the board is aware that these are hot topics. We're looking at our policies. We're making sure we're, in line and in compliance with what's going on. Any documents, superintendent's newsletters, calendars, again, events that are coming up. And then we have a section for board's goals. So if one of the board's goals, for example, was to reduce the budget by 10%, every time a item comes through the agenda that addresses that goal, the superintendent administration can connect that to that board's goal. So then it starts to make a little report down here of all the times agenda items have come to the board and that are reducing the budget by 10%. So it's a nice accountability tool and a nice way for everybody to be on the same page with the board's goals, administration, easy way to report on that. Okay. Now into the meetings tab. Let's go into a meeting. We can view the agenda. So I did, again, a little mock-up here of your agenda. Call to order. Here's where the transparency starts coming in, because it will document in here when that agenda item was added to the agenda. Now, I did this today, but in Florida, I understand that you put your agendas out there maybe sometimes up to a week in advance of the meeting. So if you would put your agenda out here, and here's all your agenda items over on the side, it will show when you added that item. So if something is added after that week before where you've put it out to the public, now amendments to the agenda, you can see down here, we added this on the 23rd or the 24th. So there can be a section down here where you add after the agenda has been advertised to the public. So they don't think, oh, I wonder if they changed something up here. You can kind of note it down here, and then again, it documents that with when it was modified last and by who. Your agenda items you can put pictures in here, you can put video in here. Student recognition, I know you have a little template of things you like to see in your agenda items. Awards and recognitions. This is where you attach the goals that we discussed to each agenda item. Any kind of attachment. So you might have an agenda item that has a 600-page budget attached to it. Well, it can be attached as a PDF, and here's like the summary of what you're voting on. Policies, again, you can go in here, have your policies featured that you might be discussing as a board. You can go in here and put links, legal references, when they need to be revised, and manage your policies in here as well. Another thing that we have that's fantastic is this search feature. And what we call it is it's a global search of your site, so you can go up in here as board members and say, I want to see what our dress code is. Now, your community can do this as well. They can come in and search your meetings, search your policies. It searches attachments as well. Okay? Here's how they come up then. Any items that have dress code in it, well, here's your policy. So they can click right on there, see what your dress code policy is. Really nice for your community not to call the district. They can come in here and see that, very easily searchable. We also, for the administrative team, have a thing that's called meta search. So if they want to see what the dress code policies are across all our 3,000 subscribers. They can put that in here as well. And again, all our subscribers, the majority of them are K-12 districts. So it's a nice research tool to see what people are doing when hot topics come up, things in their policies, things in their agendas that you can look through and see. You would not even get that in a Google search. You would get all sorts of advertisements and things like that. This is a dedicated database of K-12 districts. That's for the administration to use. You can even narrow it down to Florida districts and what they're doing in their dress code in the meta search. So you'll go in here and see that Lake County, what they're doing. You can go in and see what Martin County School District is doing, Taylor. So again, a nice research tool for policy or any hot topics that are going on. We have a library here, so this is where you would put your strategic goals, your events, your general information. And again, the tabs, real easy to use. Something I want to also mention is we come on site to do our training at no cost to you. That's included in your subscription. We do ongoing training over the web for board members, for administrative staff, anytime something's turned over. If you have a problem when you're home getting on your board material with your access, we have a number that you can call 24/7 and a live person will answer the phone for you. We are ADA compliant. We have ADA compliant is, again, a hot topic. We are working with the Office of Civil Rights to make sure that our site and the content of our subscribers is ADA compliant. And I guess, is there any questions that you might have for me? I did want to show you one more thing, and that's our voting tool. So when you're in a meeting, and you can do this, you don't have to do this. When you're in a meeting, you can go to the meeting control panel, and this is what I'm thinking Kathy would do in the back of the room as she does the minutes. She would start the meeting, and she would take roll, and our trainers will come on site and help Kathy build your system here. And when you get down to the agenda item, that's an action item. And of course, as you go through your agenda, when there's a motion, she'll take the motion, she'll select who moved, who seconded, and then she can take the vote. When she takes the vote, you can do online voting if you want to vote from your devices, or you can do a verbal vote as well. And then she would just roll through here and add the vote and save. So do I have any questions so far?
Shirley, Eric, Jane. So Shirley, go ahead.
You know, I like what you're showing us. It looks like it has a lot more than what we currently have. Two questions. One would be the policy. I would imagine that would be done electronically. You'd upload the policy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can take what you currently have and import it for you. But when you manage it, you can do it in here just like an agenda item. You can go in here and adjust and save. And again, it shows when it's last modified.
Good.
Another thing about the policies that are really nice, when you're doing that, you can make it a first reading so that the public can come in and comment, second reading, and then when you approve it, you can make it active. And what it does, it will show strike-throughs and changes in here as you're going through and revising your policies.
And when you brought up policies from other districts, are those other districts that are on your board docs?
Correct.
Okay. The last question I have is I'm looking back down to the price, and I see that you're less than what the e-agenda is. But what's the difference between the option 1 and the option 2 plus document management system? What's that?
Now, is that Pro and Pro Plus? Is that what?
Yeah,
it's
Pro and
described
Pro
to you?
Plus, yes.
Okay, so everything I've showed you is Pro, and that's one board, the Board of Education. Now, Pro Plus is multiple boards with granulated security. So not only the Board of Education can use this platform, but you can have the superintendent's cabinet use BoardDocs. But every committee in here would have granulated security. So the superintendent's cabinet necessarily can't go in and see what the Board of Education is doing in draft format, things like that. So you can have a version of BoardDocs for every committee you would like to add in here, separate from the board. Does that make sense?
Well, so then the Pro Plus, would that allow principals to have board docs for meetings with their teachers, or is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Huh.
You can put as many committees in here as you wanted to as a district.
Okay.
Now, Pro is just one platform, one Board of Education. But Plus allows you to add multiple committees separated from each other.
Thank you.
I have a variety of questions, but only as it pertains to her. My first question is, this is very robust compared to what we have now, but it seemed like you were showing us the public function. How does it work because we get our stuff before it gets posted to the public? And so
Correct.
how does that work? I didn't see you show, I got a secured, right now we have like a secured portion where we can go and download stuff ahead of time. So I was curious how that works.
Yeah, so all the board members will have a sign-on to BoardDocs, and when Kathy does the agenda, it will sit in draft format. That's where she'll kind of create it and have her draft meetings. But when she's ready to activate the meeting, she'll hit Make Active. Okay.
And then
What
my question
happens
is, okay, as long as you have that function, my other question is once you have a document, am I able to mark up that document or circle or do highlights or put any notes there on the document?
Yes. As a board member with your sign-on, you're able to go in here and take notes. And those notes are kept private to you, private to your password.
No, so like
and
there's a 60-page budget. Am I allowed to go in and highlight certain parts of the budget? Because I see that the window you pulled up, that's a separate note window. I'm talking about once I pull up the budget or whatever the attachment is, am I able to underline and strike out and make little notes in the margin?
Track mark. Okay.
Track changes. Am I allowed to make little notes for myself?
This is our annotation notes. If you would do that, you would have to download that item into a PDF or a separate item to actually highlight internally. But what we do recommend districts do is when you're on an agenda as a board member, you can print the agenda, and this gives you can print this to a PDF, and you can make your notes on that. So you can highlight things, you can have a detailed agenda, so you can go in here and highlight and do those things in this detailed agenda.
Thank you.
When you would print it.
Jane.
And our trainers will come out and show, we'll train the board, we train Kathy, and again, ongoing support anytime you would need that.
Jane.
Sometimes we have board members that travel. And is there any remote access into this during a board meeting?
Absolutely. We are cloud-based, so wherever you have Wi-Fi and you know your sign-on, you can come in here and see this. So even on your phone, on a tablet, it's not specific to the device that you're using. It's specific to Wi-Fi and your password.
Okay. Any questions?
Not for her. I have questions about the subject matter, but not.
Not for her. Okay. Are we good? Anyone questions for? We're good. We're good.
Cheryl, I'm going to hang up with you. I appreciate you today, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Ray. And I've enjoyed working with your staff. You've got a great administrative staff there, I want you to know.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Okay, all right. You have a great
I'm sorry about that, Cheryl. I've talked to her more than once, so she knows I wasn't hanging up on her.
Were there questions, Eric?
Yeah, my first, I take the easy part first. I would like us to see, not if we whatever program we use, I'd like to see us go to all in favor, say aye. I think sometimes we get so concentrated on the physical, actually computer vote, and people's computers go down or there's something wrong, we look like idiots. I mean, I can't think of another word besides that or morons. We look horrible when people are sitting out there and we're trying to figure that out. And it's just like, all you got to do is say all in favor, say aye. I think it would make the meeting go a heck of a lot quicker if we did that. The other thing is, I think this was a great program. And it's robust. It's better than, it surely looks like it's better than what we have now. My only concern is it's one. I like to know what the county's using. You and I have talked about this. I'd like to know what the county's using. I mean, there's so many boards and cities and school boards and I don't know how many other boards in the federal government, state, local boards. There's got to be a plethora of options out there. And, I mean, maybe this is the one to go with, but I'd like to see 2 or 3 so you can look at, because this is going to be a huge investment in how we interact with the school district. And I'd just like to see 2 or 3 just so I can see this is the one that we should be using. I understand that you told me that you looked at it, but since I'm the one who's going to be using it, I like to be able to see other ones, including the county's one allows you to, I know, I've seen Christine use it. She had, my wife, she gets her stuff delivered on an iPad, and then she goes in and she's able to highlight things and write notes in the margins, and it's pretty cool what the county does. It's called iAnnotate. And they're able to mark up their documents, and so that when they're there and they're reading these voluminous documents, she goes, oh, yeah, when I was reading this was an issue that I had. Right now, what I do is I have to read the stuff, and then I have a piece of paper, and I write stuff down, and then when I go meet with the superintendent, I have to go through my notebook, and a lot of times I'm like, Todd, I don't remember what it is I wrote. I said, I just put Agenda 23, and I put to my chicken scratch. I don't know what it is that I meant. It would be, I'm just saying, it'd be nice if we had 2 or 3 different products to look at.
May I respond, Mr. Robinson? So, okay, Eric, I appreciate it. Number one, I do use the product because as a system administrator coordinator for the district, I have to support it. I'm the one that actually physically makes sure that eAgenda works and this product works. So I do use it, and I do have the contact at eAgenda who has given me a quick demonstration of the Agenda Plus, which is the new version that is also web-based, but it's also an on-site version where we still have 2 servers on our site that we use. I can ask him for a demonstration also.
No, you misunderstand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there has to be other programs.
And there are.
There has to be, e-school board or iDocs or something like that. I would like to see 2 or 3. I don't know what they're called.
I'd be more than happy to research
Apple
that for
Agenda.
you.
I don't know what they're called, but whatever
Actually,
those
that wouldn't
things are
fall on you. I think the question that's before us is you could move forward with this product, or we could ask purchasing to say, put out an RFP that says we're in the market for a new management system for board, and companies would then have to respond. If you go start soliciting, you actually run afoul of some purchasing of why did you call this company and not that one, as opposed to just saying we're in the market, and if they're interested, then they make a proposal to us, and then there's some initial screening, and then this group, and we would include you and the board secretary, could then receive presentations, and then you could make a selection. And so the question is, this isn't the only piece of software that does that.
That's correct.
Do you want to make a decision today on this product, or do you want to cast a wider net?
I have a quick comment question. When does our contract with eAgenda?
Well, the current version of software that we have now does not expire. It's because it's so old.
I was going to say, no pun intended.
I thought we had the latest, greatest
This is a
thing for them.
perpetual license with them. We own it.
Okay.
Because it's 16 years old.
We own it, but then,
But we don't. As of right now, we should not be paying for it at all.
but there is maintenance upgrades.
There is maintenance, yes.
And those can be costly.
They can be costly, correct.
And don't always work.
I support the 2 servers. That one's a SQL server and one's a web server. I support that. along with Kathy, and then as soon as I've troubleshooted a problem, if there's a problem, then we call on with e-agenda, and she works with us to troubleshoot any other problems. So right now, I do all of the troubleshooting internal, and then I call for support when I need support, but the support is there if I need it.
So I'm just sorry, so there's no service contract that would be expiring anytime soon?
It's a perpetual contract that we pay every year. We haven't.
How much is that?
It's less than $5,000 a year. It's what they've got on there right now for the new one. It's the same contract. It's on page, what page is it, Kathy? Towards the end of the page, 48. It's a $5,000 a year contract.
What's the 24,000?
That's the initial, because it's a new product and they have to move it. It's the new Agenda Plus. We have to move it to different servers. We have to reset up the SQL. There's a bunch of back-end work that has to be done to make it function, and then they import all the data from the old system to the new system, and then after that, it's $5,000 a year.
And I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, bringing all the data from the old system to the new system, BoardDocs would do that too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, so we wouldn't just be looking at BoardDocs from, whatever day forward. I mean,
No,
our old meetings would still be on there.
Yes, ma'am. They would do that too, even though they say they're the only people that could do it in that document on page 40-something.
Are there ongoing maintenance fees with BoardDocs too, or is this
yes.
$24,000 a one-time fee?
That's a one-time fee for e-agenda, for Agenda Plus. BoardDocs initial cost based on the documentation for just the Pro version is $9,500 for the for the actual program, and then it is $1,000 one-time setup fee. And then after that, it's $9,500 a year.
Every year?
Yes. Now, here's the difference between BoardDocs and the Agenda Plus in the cost is because they're in the cloud completely, and they're behind two separate firewalls. So they have two locations, one in North Carolina, one in Colorado.
BoardDocs does?
Yes. They have two separate locations where they host the servers for us. They do all the maintenance to the servers. And they make sure that everything is Windows updates, all the updates that are done to it. They're behind some major security, like F5 that we use. So that's their plus their support fee for 24/7 support.
Jane?
I think it's pretty neat that 58 school districts in the state of Florida are using it. I was always told, because I've asked this question to former administrations, why do we have e-agenda? It seems a little kludgy to me, and it was like, oh, this is the latest and greatest thing there is. We've looked at BoardDocs and other things, and really we're with a better company. So I'm pleased to see this information. It looks good to me, but again, I don't know what's out there. I have
That's where I was wondering from a standpoint. I think it is high time we reevaluate what we're using, and I do agree with Eric. And I think I like the changes. I think I've shared that as we upload or change agendas, sometimes things get pulled off. It's nice to have, I think, even from a compliance standpoint, that we have whatever the system may be, having an ability to track that. So it shows that. I don't believe ours currently does. But I also think that I have no idea what the market is out there, and I think that we may have to, even from a purchasing standpoint. I mean, I know it's underneath the $50,000 threshold. And I know RFPs take time too. I get that, but I just don't know. So we're not up against the timeline. That's what I wanted to know.
No. Well, BoardDocs does go up $1,000 for next school year, so it would be $10,500 instead of $9,500.
You can always negotiate those.
Yeah, that's fine. That's true. You can.
But that's a recurring cost.
But that's a recurring cost. Yes.
So it's going to go up $10,000 regardless.
No, it's gonna go from $9,500 to
$10,500 annually.
Annually. Just so that you have a little background, because of my position, I do a lot of. I maintain a lot of the software and the applications in the background for everybody in the school district and for the kids and for you. part of my job is to make sure that you have the best applications that work. And because e-agenda, and I've worked with it for many years, I know what it does and what it doesn't do right now, and I feel that you're not getting the best use out of it, because I know that I've done school board meetings, and Shirley's been there at Venice, down in Venice, where we have only been able to bring a box and do little recordings. We couldn't use the whole e-agenda software. But there's other applications out there that, while you had to get up and go over to the screen to look at it, this is a web-based, where it's a browser, so you wouldn't be like having to go up to the screen and squint. It's right in front of you.
Well, that's because I'm old.
I went up there. No.
Let me hide these glasses real quick.
Yes.
But that's why we got onto this topic, Dr. Bowden and the board, was because I had been seeing how old it was getting, so I brought up the topic, and Kathy brought up the topic with Linda when they had come back from the board meetings that they had been to, talking to other districts about what they were using. So we were expanding on that, and that's why we got to this point here, so that you could see that presentation and you could start to develop a plan.
I don't want to know that I want to go out to a whole bunch of RFPs and stuff. If we were to look at the counties and what their program is, I mean, couldn't we do a piggyback contract, or because it's a county and not a school district, we couldn't?
Oh, no, any public entity that went through a bid process, but this will not reach the thresholds to trigger any of that. You're free to purchase any product you choose.
I mean, do you want to go out and look at another? Or
Yeah, I was not
would you be
advocating to
happy
go with the
looking at-
county. I would just use it as an example that there are other products out there, and this product looked good. I'm not trying to say it. There may be other products that, like, wow, I thought BoardDocs was good, but this iAgenda is awesome. You know. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, no. Well, so I think it's below our threshold, but we certainly utilize it. I also know I don't want to spend more money if we don't have to on anything. But I know that what we're personally in my interaction, maybe I don't know all the bells and whistles, but I've not been happy with the current system we use. I think it for a multitude of reasons. And so even if it's cheaper, it's almost not valuable for the money we're spending. So I don't know. I just want to make sure we weren't up against the timeline and we have to renew a contract.
No, we don't have to renew a contract at all. The one thing I did, since you're talking about costs a little bit, is that I did the math based on what was given to me in the contracts of those two proposals, was that the initial cost of the Agenda Plus software, along with the annual fee, BoardDocs does not get to that cost until the 5th year of the contract. So it takes 5 years of using BoardDocs to make up, and it takes 3 years to make up the initial cost of the Agenda Plus. It takes 3 full years of renewal contracts to make up the first year cost of e-agenda. So over the long run, we would end up 5 years until we end up at the same cost that software, the two softwares that you're talking about, we'd end up paying the same amount.
Yeah, but after 10 years, then after every year after that, it's a difference of 5,000.
Yeah, it's a difference of 5,000, ma'am.
I mean, do we all have an iPad? I know we all use different devices. Do you use an iPad? iPad? Do you?
I mainly use my phone, but I have an iPad, I use a phone.
Well, no. I'm talking about for the district. The reason I ask is I think that you brought up something, I didn't know this, but when the county had switched over, they saved so much money on paper printing. And I like, you guys know that, I like to write things, but I can certainly get over that, because I bet you if we quantified the amount of printing we do just for our board meetings, but I think it may be a longer conversation, right? So
you could use OneNote. We have OneNote for the school district.
Like your tactile.
We have OneDrive. You could use OneNote and take all your notes in there, pull them up on your phones. This is my school board phone, by the way. But I can pull up all my OneNotes, all the notes I take at any meeting I'm at. I can pull them up on my phones using the free Office 365 subscription that we have. And with my OneNote, I put a OneNote on there. I pull it up on my phone. I can write notes in there. I can take notes.
Can we?
But I think what she's saying is the county, their delivery system is to the iPad. Nobody physically goes and delivers it. Then you can print it out from home.
Yeah, of course. No, but I guess my question, yeah.
I'm not saying get the county. I'm just using.
I know, I know that, but I'm saying.
iAgenda must be really cool.
I'm just saying, I totally lost my train of thought. I don't know, and given the time, so we're not up against a timeline.
No.
I think there's definitely better options out there. Is that a fair statement? But do we know which ones we want to do?
Other option. I don't know if they're better. BoardDocs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, okay, other options. Any thoughts?
I think we should, whatever we're going to do it quickly so that by the beginning of next year, I think we should have a new system installed. Whether it's this BoardDocs or it's iAgenda or G-Agenda or whatever it's called, we should look quickly and then make a decision and have something by the time we get back in August.
Okay.
Ray,
Karen.
do you have anything else that you could show us on the top of your head, do you think?
Well, other than e-agenda and the county, no, because when I had the Agenda Plus, they showed me what they had for the new system, and Kathy brought that, and at that point, those were the two that I was looking at, and I wanted to get something in front of the board so that you could discuss it, because I can't make that decision for you. You have to make that decision. So if I get at least one piece of software out there for you to look at, then we can move forward with others, because I have Agenda Plus, and I have my contact with Agenda Plus that he would be more than happy to show you that, and then I can get with Joe Binswanger and my boss, Anthony Dolciato, and we can talk to the county and see if we can get there.
Good idea.
And we can look at those two also.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That'd be great.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Good.
I'll work on that after
Thank
spring
you.
break.
Perfect.
Not
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray.
Oh, well, actually, I'm working spring break a couple of days to replace the
teasing
main
you.
controllers.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for
Have a
having me.
great day.
Thank you for doing
I just Googled it. There's a bunch of software you can find.
Thank you, sir. Google is your friend, by the way.
Yeah, the Google, if you know about the Google.
Next is legislative issues and budget.
Well, I had some questions about the budget that came out of Tallahassee, but I think some of them were answered this morning, and I don't know if there was any other legislative issues that we needed to be informed about what's happening or what's going on or what came through the CRC.
Well, the CRC is work in progress, and they're merrily going through with term limits and other things right now. And at any rate, that's a conversation, I think, for another time. But write your cards and letters to them. I think it's important that we write them, that we send them emails and let them know what we think or how we think they're doing, and look online and see what their proposals are going forward. They have an awful lot of proposals that they have to whittle down, I know that, but I would just hope that we would look at some platform issues or priority issues sooner rather than later. I've made that a priority for Florida School Board Association for next year, because I think it behooves us all to talk to our legislators in the summertime and when they're available to talk, and yes, the session will be later next year, but it's good to know what our priorities are and what we hope to have going forward. And I'm talking now not at a 30,000-foot level, which is what FSBA does, but more at the local level. I think it's important for us. We got some money for summer institutes, but we need to sort of in our own minds get our head wrapped around some of the things that would be our priorities, because we'll have our last workshop at the end of June, and then we won't have another workshop until the end of August, and then people are scrambling around. We'll have our legislative priorities and discussion with the legislative delegation and so forth. So I think that would be my hope, that we would decide to do that.
What would your recommendation for timeline? What are you thinking?
I would hope that we would do this and have some discussion and have made some decisions on that by the end of June, by the workshop the end of June. So perhaps we should try to schedule this for May. By then, we'll know exactly where we are in budgeting and the real ramifications of this past session, and I think it gives us an idea. I would hope that this summer, and I have talked to certain legislators, I'm going to go out and meet a couple of committee chairs this summer, but I would hope that we'd try to get them into SEER, our Summer Institute. The ones that have come through, and Eric has been responsible for some of that, and others, they get it. They really get it. You have to see it to get it. And I think a lot of people would be interested because this is something that should be implemented across all 67 counties. So that would be my hope and intention, is that we would look at our ground level priorities and kind of come up with a game plan for next year. I think it makes it easier for us.
Eric?
I totally agree. I think we should leave to the association, coalition, consortium fads the 30,000 big overarching, statewide issues, and that we should focus on the ground level. I think Sarasota County, we end up with we had 50 legislative agenda items that we ended up approving last time. It just got so unwieldy. And I agree with Jane that we should focus on Summer Learning Academy. No one's going to advocate more for Sarasota County than the people around this table right now, and we're going to do the best job of it. And I think that we should make our legislative agenda to be laser focused on things like Summer Learning Academy or other things that we bring back that focus solely on Sarasota County and leave all those other organizations to do the far-reaching things. It's a lot easier to discuss issues with legislators than it is the broader things. Because when you bring up the broader things, they're going to bring up, well, in Brevard County they said this, and you start losing the argument. It's better to stay focused on Sarasota, and we'll end up getting a bigger bang for our buck.
Shirley?
I think it's also important for us to explain the budget to them. How the base student allocation at only 47 cents, that impact, and then show what our actual new dollars were that they gave us, or they allowed us to collect, what these new dollars are. And when you take those new dollars and you subtract out the ones for the mandates for mental health and for the resource officers, what was left, and then we had these new students, so that they understand, because I know it was difficult as a legislator understanding when I'm hearing from leadership, nope, we gave them $484 million, and this is how much money we gave to this school. But how those dollars really come out, it was something that it was so difficult for me to understand. I'd sit with Al and I'd go over it and I'd try. So I think that's something important that we all have to have in our heads and in our minds, and we need to understand it so we can show our legislators that, well, you gave us this much money, yes, but this much was keyed to this and that, and this was new students that were coming in. In reality, we didn't get more money, we got less money. I mean, I think we need to know exactly what those numbers were. And I think she says she's going to get them to us. But I think we need to know, and we need to be able to explain, well, when you adjusted that district cost differential, that cost us X amount of dollars. It's the bottom line. It's that funding formula, and you can say leave that to the other groups, but no, I think we need to educate our legislators on what those numbers mean.
Well, many of them, if you watch their discussions on the floor of the House and the Senate, many of them don't understand education because they can't even have a complete discussion, and it's of concern to me. Perhaps those on the Education Committee can, but when others try to chime in, they cannot. They cannot give a good defense against a certain bill or a certain amendment. So I think that is an educational choice and an educational process, I agree. But I also think we need to do something with this community, and we need to take take these people and the parents that I have talked to during the referendum and the schools that I have talked to and so forth. A lot of the parents don't understand, but they want to be involved. The PTA Association on the state level, which we in this district for some reason are not a part of, has some good merit because the PTA Association of the state of Florida does lobby, and they are involved, and they do let the parent-teacher organizations in the schools know what's going on in Tallahassee. And we, for some reason, and I can't find anyone who knows why, are not a part of PTA. And
I think we need to look at that. Well, what is that answer? Why aren't we? And I would think that there are PTAs need to be connected to that.
But our parents want to know more about how things go. They want to know more about how we govern. And I saw a lot of people in through the referendum that really were interested in knowing more. So I think we need to address that as well.
I think. Hold on. I want to talk real quick, and then you. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. But as it relates to legislative agendas, and I agree where it should be locally specific. I think given this past legislative session, the school safety bill, I think a lot of that, clearly we're still trying to figure out what that best looks like. I've been talking to the chairman, at least in Manatee, and I'd be interested in Charlotte. We always do a joint tri-county meeting. It's always very large legislative priorities, that's 15, 20 pages. I think the better, and just as just my opinion, looking forward, would be using that opportunity to see what they're doing in respective counties, and maybe from seeing where we need more assistance or some best practices and what would come out of that by way of legislative priorities. That, to me.
Well, I think we ought to have that meeting earlier as well, and that usually is much later, so I think that's a good idea. But looking at Charlotte and looking at Manatee, as I have done very closely in the last 6 months. I think there are many differences between the three counties. I think there's strength in collective issues, and I think we should do that. But sometimes we meet to discuss our legislative issues, and it's August or September. So I think anything we can do to move that along. And Charlotte and Manatee, I've had conversations with them as well about, are you going to establish your local priorities earlier this year? And I think they're inclined to think that. I think the whole state is looking at establishing earlier priorities, and I think that's good for everyone.
Shirley.
Well, because every year we get to June, and it's like, oh my God, we haven't done our legislative priorities yet, and then they have to go to FSBA. So I agree that we ought to have our own priorities, but I also agree that we ought to stay connected to the larger organizations, because
Okay.
I know, you won't. There is something about the majority of people being with the majority. And we can lobby on our own, and we can also send our legislative platform to the other entities that we're members of.
Eric.
I just want to clarify, piggyback on what Shirley Brown was saying. I agree we should still inform our legislators. I mean, I have legislators calling me all the time, and and you answer the questions that they want to ask. But I was talking specifically when I was talking about the 30,000 in the county. I was talking about the legislative agenda. That doesn't mean that you still don't answer the questions. I mean, I have legislators calling me all the time, too many times, asking me for my point of view from people outside our district. And some of them are chairmen of committees, and I'm happy to help them. I'm happy to give them my opinion. But what I was talking about specifically, I was talking about the legislative agenda issue. But that does not mean that other things, whether it's budget or BSA or school safety, that you don't still talk to them and give them the information. And
well, Eric,
they're willing to ask questions. I mean, you just wait 30 minutes, and they're calling you up and asking questions. So if so I'm not saying one is supposed to be in conflict with the other. Legislative agendas to be Sarasota focused, but still talk to them about the budgets and how things work.
And I think that timing's really important. June, may be a good, or I'm sorry, May be a good time to do our platform. I agree with the Sarasota focus, and if there is an opportunity to collaborate with it closer, but I agree. I think we had some great stuff on there from last year that could potentially move forward. Since it wasn't, we're very fortunate that we got anything, considering that very seldom did anyone else. But and so maybe we can add that to our workshop. I just want to add that I know that we have historically in the past added past legislative platforms. I don't see the value of that being a discussion here, because for multiple reasons. I think that we take a lot of time doing it, and it kind of circles back, and as a board taking a position beyond our Sarasota County legislative agenda, I'd prefer that practice not take place, because I just don't see the value in it. So that's all.
So wait, let me understand what you're saying. So you're saying we should just have a legislative initiative for Sarasota County, and we should not combine it with anything from FSBA or the consortium. Is that what you're saying?
Or the coalition or anything, yeah.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think the more the merrier.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention to you, Eric, when leadership calls you and they want some direction on something, just give them my number. I'll take it.
I'm not going to talk to you. But you also got to understand that who you talk to matters and which person you talk to. So if you go to, I'll pick Joe, and Joe can yell at me later. If you go to Joe Gruters and you talk to him about something about the education budget and he's not on the committee, you're pretty much wasting your time. And so creating these legislative agenda items that outside Sarasota, you're pretty much, you're just wasting your time. Just be honest with you. But if the Sarasota focus things, you can go to somebody like Julio Gonzalez, who's not on the education committee, and Senator Stubbe, who's not, yeah, he is on the education committee. He was education committee. But go to them to get something in the budget. That's the kind of stuff that they can accomplish. But if you want to go and talk about BSA funding and the cost differential, then you need to call, Senator Pasadomo. You need to call, Kathy, who has the best CPA, just a little plug. You need to be able to call Kathy and talk to her about that. But the problem is and this is just human nature. If I go to you, Shirley, and I ask you for 56 different items, you're probably going to throw it in the trash. But if I only ask you for 2 things, you may end up doing one of them, Shirley, right? What are the chances of... Right, if I ask you, and I give you a laundry list that literally has 56 items on it, what are the chances of you doing any of those 56 items? That's just the human nature and reality of the situation. So we have association, consortiums, FADs, we have all those other things that we are able to bubble that stuff up through to, and I think that's what the avenue that they should be doing.
I did not sit on education except for my first term, and I didn't sit on education appropriations, but the education appropriation was my number one focus every year.
Time is up. I don't know if we'll ever get to the operating procedures, but it does have a budgetary implication. I think that as we move forward with the budget, I just wanted to, but I want us all to be a part of it, to draft it and create it and make it updated. I know we have executive session at 2 o'clock, so I think that takes priority. However, take it away.
So we're skipping that item?
For now, I'll add it to the next board agenda. There's only one thing that I do need to clarify for, and that until we adopt a new one, the current operating procedures they allow it. There's a $250 monthly allocation for reimbursements, and what do we do if it's a single item or multitude? Do we have, what's the practice been?
It's been $3,000 a year.
Actually, no, it's not. So that's the problem. It's $250. It's a poorly written procedure. I'm not going to lie. That's why we're having this conversation. But I do not believe it's appropriate for me to interpret it my own way. The only thing that I can have it here, and we all have it, is that that you're taking that base to the budget. So there is a specific item that says, it's very strange, titled membership in professional organizations / fees for community events. So just fees for fees related to school board membership in professional organizations and community events shall be funded through the individual's monthly expense reimbursement, $250 per month, period. It's very clear. Receipts and a public purpose statement for school board members form will be returned to the administrative assistant for approval by the chair for reimbursement. So we can have a larger discussion from the budget and how, what we would do next year, but I want to, the practice, if it's a single item or a monthly item were to exceed that, does it go back to the board? Do we want to change and amend it now so it's one aggregated amount? So that's what the whole purpose of me putting this on this.
Okay.
Well, my suggestion is just instead of having these different pots and this and that we come up with some number, whatever that number is. And I'm just going to throw a number out just for $10,000. I don't know what it is. $10,000, that includes your association, travel, meals, community events, whatever it is. That you get to, you are able to put reimbursement up to $10,000, and if you go over $10,000, it's got to come in front of the board. Some number. I mean, I don't know if $10,000 is the right number, and that way you don't have to finagle. And that way, if somebody wants to go to Tallahassee a lot, and
You're looking at-
I'm looking at Jane.
But
She does the legislative.
My travel is paid for.
Right, paid. But
This is going to be a longer conversation. That was why I went
Mine
to.
for 5 years.
Okay, so she wants to go to, my point is different people want to spend their money on different things, and
We're elected and able to.
yeah, and able to
what's
do
in
it,
the
whatever
budget.
somebody wants to spend their money on, then I think they should be able to, I think there should be a pot of money, and that people are free to do whatever they want within that
I agree.
amount.
Doesn't give you any kind. Yeah. Okay.
And then you're not nickel and diamond, was it this month versus
Agreed,
that month?
so-
Somebody wants to travel, so, okay.
That'll do it.
Oh, that'll do it? So do you have your direction, Superintendent?
He does.
Okay.
That was more. That was a board as a board
That's not me.
How much
collectively.
going in the budget?
So I will.
Well, it's a
here's what I'll
budgetary
do.
thing.
So
It's a budgetary thing.
It's a budgetary thing, and unless we're I mean, if that's for next year. For now, I can redraft it as is,
I just came up with 10,000. Is anybody?
July 1.
starting July 1.
July 1.
That's fine.
$10,000.
10,000 for the 5 of us? Oh,
No, each one of us.
a lot of money.
I know, I'm just saying that the chance that you're going
Spend
to,
all.
But our association fees are included in that.
Yeah,
The
everything.
FSBA.
Let me say, because it's a living document, right? So each year we would adopt what that X limit is. So the actual
Right.
procedures will say the allocation will be X per board member, period.
And
Okay.
and I just said 10,000. That should,
Yeah, we'll
that should
make
cover
that up.
everything.
Well,
That's-
I would like to know
I don't
what
know.
the 3,000 plus the FSBA and the consortium are right now.
that's 7,500, isn't it 40?
3,000 for the consortium.
It's how much?
3,000 for
Well,
the
so it's at
consortium.
750 each?
Is it 3,000
'cause I'm not-
total or 3,000 each
3,000
per member?
Total.
So it's 750, yeah, 750.
Yeah, because I'm not a member of it.
But you are, consortium is for the entire school board.
I don't want to get into that conversation right now.
It's 3,000 to consider to be split among 5 people because everybody.
Okay, so 600. Do 600 without arguing.
All right. And then what's the FSBA?
23,000?
It's a graduate
21,000.
scale that's just been revised and.
So that's,
All right, well, we'll look,
I
would
know
wanna
it's a
know what
longer
those numbers
discussion.
are
So
before we
X
set a
will
number.
be the procedure language. We will
well,
determine.
whatever the number, maybe you guys say 15, whatever that number
I
is.
don't know, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, but that was where the clarity wanted to.
But we
I've
need,
never gone over my limit. I've never.
Okay, well, I think we're.
All right, now I know Dr.
But
Bud-
then can you sign off on my,
Oh, it's over 250.
yes.
That was the whole, I mean, I wasn't trying, and I wanted to make it a general. So what do we want to do when it's over?
but that doesn't include does that include the travel costs too?
No, it's one single item that's over 250.
It's 263, I think, or something like that.
So,
yeah, I'm proposing,
No, this is mine that she hasn't approved.
well, I'm not trying to make it, yeah, but I want,
Okay.
okay. So do you want to, before the board? Because it's not, I mean,
Just give me 250 then.
for what? What's going on? I missed something.
It's a receipt of mine that Bridget has had for like 3 months.
What's the
had
254?
since January 29th. I brought this up multiple times, but it's just a reimbursement. I'm trying to find,
So I will take it back and amend it to 250, so therefore you won't be out of problem.
okay.
I'm confused. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
But, and also separately,
You don't have expenses.
the other thing that we changed was that all
She's never approved one of my expenses.
documentation, because I've been trying to make a practice of all board members have the same information at the same time.
Kathy has all that stuff for me.
Right, so that's why you guys signed that, so you have access to the business portal. But I want to move forward because we had an executive session. I know there's a priority, so take it away.
Okay, so I hate to rehash, but I had the opportunity at lunchtime to speak directly with the sheriff. We've agreed to meet tomorrow. He has reinforced to me that time is of the essence. And what he has said is, I've put a proposal in front of you for a two-tiered SRO program, and we are losing time for me to stand up the SRD2 program. And he says, if you want to continue to negotiate costs and do different things, you're certainly welcome to do that, but that he can no longer do the SRD2 program because we lose time during that, to say that we're going to have this program stood up by August 15th. So his question to me was very simple. You have a proposal in which we have a two-tiered SRD program. I'm asking you to assume full financial responsibility for that program. Do you want to move forward, yes or no?
For both programs?
Correct.
So he is taking away the 50% funding that the county has been giving us.
He is proposing that we bear the full cost of both the SRD1 and the SRD2 program. Yes.
I think we have to move forward because we need to get security officers in those schools, and the longer we delay it, the less likely we'll have anything.
Jane?
My answer is yes. Move forward, please, quickly. This afternoon would be even better than tomorrow.
Eric?
You have to do it.
We have to do corresponding cuts, too. I mean, we can't, just spending money without us having to deal with the consequences.
No, he'll.
We will now have to amend the budget.
We had a conversation this morning. It was 3-2, not for him not to come forward with cuts.
Well, we also didn't accept the increased expense.
But we knew what the
But
increased
you have
expense
to.
was.
That was the whole conversation this
We
morning.
were hoping to negotiate. Well, we were hoping to negotiate away the increased expense. I am now going to bring you an amendment to this. Well, it's not an amendment because it's never been adopted. But what I'd like to do is to get the budget out in the hands of cost center heads, and then to say, now, I need ideas for getting $750,000 out of this. I will rank those, I will cost those, and I will bring that back at our next workshop, and we can talk about what are the most palatable of those cuts. But I don't want to hold up the staffing timeline, but I also don't want to hold up the sheriff. He has really done us a solid on this SRD2 program. If that option goes away, either I have to start my own police force or I've got to pay $100,000 a deputy. And so I want to say yes, but I need to make sure I've got your authority to do so.
I would say to move
Is he
forward.
watching?
He was early.
I would say to move forward.
I'm not quite sure exactly. I mean,
I know.
this printed out. I mean, he's saying 12 unincorporated elementary schools. What are we going to do about the other? There's 21, isn't there?
No.
Correct. He is prepared to expand the SRD2 program to all 21 elementary schools, to include those in the incorporated areas at the cost proposed here of $63,000. I don't have my glasses on. That's as much as I can commit to memory.
With 491.
There you go. 63, 491, 99. And so it will be some number higher than 14. So it'll be the 21 schools plus a cadre of substitutes. So it may be 2, 3, 4 above that number. So somewhere between 21 and 25 SRD2s to cover our 21 elementary schools.
Yeah, obviously we need to move forward, but I'm confused. This morning, when we had the same information, and then we had the same letter from the sheriff, and the sheriff told us we were going to pay for 100%, the board gave you direction not to do any cuts. So I'm confused now.
We're not giving him. We
gave him directions this morning.
To cut.
But you
we're
have to-
giving him directions to bring us a suggestion.
No, this
We would
morning
have
you
to
asked
make
him
a cut.
not to bring forward direction. You actually said
That's
it's 3,
because
it's
he
2.
was under the impression that he would, what I heard, that you would
No.
still have an opportunity to negotiate. I'm not hearing that negotiation availability.
That is what's changed from
made
this
the
morning.
difference.
No, it did not change from this. The sheriff was crystal clear. He sent us a letter. Sheriff was crystal clear. We just didn't believe him. We just didn't take him at his word.
We didn't have a discussion with the sheriff. We didn't have that discussion, nor was this discussion gone up to the county commission. I'm not sure that what he sent us was the bottom line, and I wasn't sure that. I mean, and I'm like, this is how the sheriff can tell us what we have to do. We didn't have this letter in front of us this morning. I had it on my phone. I didn't have it printed out. But he's talking about for staffing the 12 unincorporated elementary schools. I thought there was 21.
His original proposal to us was to continue the SRO 1 program at the schools in the unincorporated area and have us bear the full cost of that, and then to implement an SRD2 program for the 12 elementary schools in the unincorporated area. Our ask back to him was, can you do all of the elementary schools? And his response is, yes, I can do all of the elementary schools. And so that part of the proposal will have to change. He's probably going to look for 22 to 24, no, 21 plus at least 2 subs, so 23 to 25 SRD2s. If not, we're going to have to try to go make deals with our cities, or we're going to have to pursue some other option.
Patchwork.
Right.
It'll be patchwork.
May I please say something that I think is offer perspective that's really, really important? That's kind of what I tried to say before, is this is a collaboration and has been for all those who kind of say, I haven't been on the board for a very long time. We partner with our partners. And I think that with that changing time, there has been a very forward proactive approach on behalf of the sheriff to come up with solutions that will inevitably, one, provide subject matter expertise, and two, as you've said, that program that he provided as an alternative it's a good thing that helps us. So I just don't particularly, the sharing in the past has been optional and very generous, and so but we knew, again, that we needed to make some decisions. I'm very happy to hear that we are moving forward with decisions, but at the same time, the implications for us to come and look at where we need to balance up the new expense was what the discussion was today. So, and I know we have a timeline for a response, but that I just want to make sure there's clarity that from the board as far as what actions come forward. We have items on our agenda this afternoon as far as releasing the staffing, and we aren't prepared.
Sorry, Bridget, but I think we have to release the staffing, because otherwise we will not have our school staffed. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to start school without having your staffing in place. It's disaster.
I don't have the ability to solicit from cost center heads, help me cut the budget, unless I put it in their hands.
Right.
And to say, what can you give me back, without saying, here's the allocations for your schools and cost centers, and now I still need to trim this budget. What ideas do you have? And they've always responded, I am comfortable. We're going to have a list of potential cuts that exceeds our target and will cost them out, just like we've done before, right at this table, and say, here's a list of cuts. Which ones are you comfortable with getting at least to the 750? But if there are cuts that are palatable to us that take us beyond that number, I don't know why we wouldn't implement them.
I'm comfortable with that.
We've done it around this table year after year.
Yes, we have, unfortunately.
So is there an amended language that needs to be added so that it's understood that this is not the for this afternoon?
No, you're still releasing the budget knowing that it's a work in process. You're not doing any official action on a budget until you get to June, July, and August. It's
Right.
just, can we push a budget out, begin the staffing process?
Right?
Anything?
And I can say yes. I mean, it's a yes or no answer. I want to meet with the sheriff and say, full speed ahead, let's get those SRD2s
Yes.
stood up, and we'll.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. So this portion is closed, and we are moving to an executive session. We are adjourned.